Okay, hey guys. Today I have something that I've actually wanted to make for quite a while now, or a few months even, but I wanted to wait until these cards came to Master Duel, and today I'm going to be doing I guess my beginner's guide to White Forest, or my White Forest Masterclass, if you will. Um, yeah, so today I'm going to be going over both the White Forest Runic deck and the toy box version of the deck in Master Duel. I can kind of give a few also little tips for the TCG too, but this is going to mostly be, involving Master Duel and talking about the Master Duel meta. So yeah, I hope you guys are interested in this because I've been enjoying White Forest for so long, and yeah, I just want to kind of give an overview. I think first I'm gonna go through the deck profiles for the decks, then talk about what the M boards might look like, and then I'm gonna have a couple of replays. I think I have two replays for the toy box deck and then one for the runic deck to kind of just showcase how the deck plays. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop into it. So if you've watched my IRL deck profile for this deck, you'll notice that I'm not playing the board breaker version because in this game, I just in a best of one format, I'm just not a huge fan of the board breaker approach. I'm not a huge fan of board breakers in general. Like the only decks that can really get away with utilizing board breakers to their proper potential are like proper going second decks, in my opinion. Um, and I just think, yeah, I would much prefer to do the hand trap version. So we're playing three Valor, three Maxi, three Ash. I'm playing two Nib, and then three Imperm. So that should be 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. 14 hand traps, which is, well, in the TCG right now, that's actually not that much, but that should be plenty good enough for now. But yeah, let me just quickly go over all the White Forest cards. So first we have a Stellar of the White Forest. This is in this version of the deck, technically your best starter. Um, so what the White Forest cards do is they send spells and traps from your hand or field to do effects. A number of them summon from the deck. One of them draws, um, or adds from deck, and I'll explain all of them as we go along. So uh, a Stellar is a level 2 spellcaster, and um, you can send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon a light spellcaster tuner. And the light spellcaster tuner we're usually going to summon is Sylvie, which is a level 4 tuner, which on summon adds a White Forest spell or trap. So that's really good. And then if a spell or trap is sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, which a lot of essentially all of the White Forest monsters do that, um, then you can special summon this card from the grave. So it's a really good piece of extension. We generally don't play this in the runic build. This is just a mainstay of the toy box version, but yeah, really solid card and definitely a 3 of. And then probably I would say the best White Forest card out there is LZ. So in hand, so the a stellar activates on the field. Um, LZ activates in hand. It sends a spell or trap from hand or field to the grave to special summon it from the hand and then add a White Forest monster from deck to hand. Any White Forest monster. Excuse me. Um, so it's really good. And if a light spellcaster tuner is special summoned to the field, or to your field while it's in the grave, you can add it back from your grave to your hand. So it's a really good piece of recursion. And you will, excuse me, essentially, if you're able to play the game, you're going to be adding this back every time. It's really, really good. And before I go into the toy box cards, just gonna quickly finish the White Forest cards. I already talked about Sylvie briefly, but it's a level 4 tuner. On summon, it adds a White Forest spell or trap, and also it has the effect when it's in the graveyard to target a White Forest synchro on the field or in the grave, and you can return it to the extra deck and summon it. So it's actually really good because it's just a quick effect. It's not locked to either player, either player's turn. It's not locked to a specific phase. It's literally just once a turn. And yeah, and when it's summoned out, it's summoned negated. Rusia is usually a one of in the toy box version, and what it says is if you control a white forest monster, you can special summon it, so it's a nice piece of extension. And you can send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the graveyard to draw one. It also has the same effect of Sylvie, which lets you target a synchro in your field or grave, return it to the extra deck, and then special summon it from the grave. And yeah, both of these get specialed out with their effects negated, which is important, and we'll talk a bit about that later. Then there's the toy box cards. So there's 3 toy soldier and 1 toy tank. This goes along with toy box. So I'll just quickly go over toy box first because it's the most important card. So what this card says is, once per turn, you can use one of the effects that you see on the screen. You can either set 2 toy monsters from your deck to your spell and trap zone as spells and traps, or you can destroy 2 spells and traps in your own spell and trap zone. And what's cool about this is this will set a toy soldier and a toy tank. And what toy soldier and toy tank do is you can set them in the spell and trap zone like spells and traps. And you can do that from your hand. You can do that with toy box. It's really just however you want to do it. And they both have effects. So if they're sent to the graveyard, toy soldier will summon itself, and on summon it will add either a toy box if you don't control toy box, or if you do, you can also add a level 4 light monster instead, which is really good because Rusia and Sylvie are level 4 light monsters. So it acts as a way to extend your plays and search. And Toy Tank, also when it's sent to the grave, will special summon itself. Its effect isn't quite as good, but it will let you tribute itself to special summon a level 6 or lower monster from your hand, or if you control Toy Box, you can also special summon from the grave. So yeah, so you can set both of them. And what's really cool is the synergy between these cards is the White Forest cards they send for cost, and they send spells and traps. And when you set these cards, they're acting as spells and traps. So you can send them for the effect. So a Stellar can essentially send a set Toy Soldier for effect to summon out Sylvie. On summon, Sylvie will activate to search, and then you can chain Toy Soldier to summon from the grave. So it was sent to the grave. And then on summon, it can search a light level 4. So it's really, really good. And yeah, so that's where the synergy comes in. So, and then the last monster that's not a hand trap is Iris Sword Soul. So basically, you can summon this if you control, or if there's a monster on the field that has its effects negated. And what's really cool is when you use Sylvie or Rusia to reborn for the graveyard, their effects are negated when you summon them. So this is really cool because you can summon them from the grave as like an extender, and then you can summon the Iris Sword Soul. And the Iris Sword Soul is searchable by one of our extra deck monsters, which I'll get into a bit later. We have Reinforcement of the Army, just it's another copy of Toy Soldier, because it's just you really want to see it. So I'm not gonna go over the call by cross out imperms, because those are just generic cards that you'll probably know what they do by now. I'm gonna go over the last 4 cards, which are the White Forest Spells and Traps and the Minidium Trap, which I'll get into in a sec. So the first is Tales of the White Forest. This is a searcher. If you control an illusion or spellcaster monster, you can add a White Forest monster from your deck to your hand. This is a really good card, but unfortunately, it's not a starter because you need to control an illusion or spellcaster to begin with. You can't just start with this, which, you know, if it didn't have that restriction, this would be an instant 3 of, I think, in probably both the Runic and excuse me, both the Runic and the toy box version. But this is just a one-offs that we can search out to help extend our plays, and that's all we're going to play as. You can play it as 2, but I don't really have the space for it in this deck. And then the last effect is something that all the White Forest spells and traps have in common, and that's if they're sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, you can set the card. So for Tails, for Scourge, and for Woes, all three of these cards have the same effect. So Scourge is really good because you can tribute one synchro monster, then target a face-up card on the field and negate its effect. So it's more or less an Omni negate, which is really good. And if you tributed a White Forest synchro monster, you can special summon an illusion monster from the grave after, essentially on resolution. And what's really cool is Diabel, one of your main boss monsters, is an illusion. So if you tribute it with this effect, you can basically just summon it back, and you'll get the same monster back. Also, if you tribute your Arciela or Silvera from the extra deck, which we'll get into, and you have a Diabel in the grave, which doesn't happen that often, but if you do, you can special summon it back, and that's some really cool synergy. So, and then the last card is Woes of the White Forest. This is a really good card. It's a really good piece of interruption. What it does is it special summons a White Forest monster from your hand or deck, and then you can synchro summon a White Forest monster specifically. Why this is good is because Silvera is a monster that you can synchro summon using this effect, and when this card is special summoned, you can Book of Eclipse, or essentially change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position. It's a really good piece of interruption. Um, and yeah, and oftentimes when you do that, you'll be summoning out like an Elzet from the deck, synchroing into this, and you'll go Chainlink 1 Silvera to book everything. And then because Silvera is a tuner, a spellcaster tuner, or a light spellcaster tuner, you can go Chainlink 2 Elzet to add this back to your hand. So you're getting recursion too. So really good card. And the last card is Mannadium Reframing. This is just searchable with our Visas Amritara, which is a level 8 synchro. And it's just a really good card, and it's just an Omni negate. It's so easy to make in this deck, and it raises the ceiling of the end boards you can make just so much. And it's just I never am annoyed having this in my deck. Yeah, sometimes you might draw it going second if you lose the die roll, but it's just way too good not to include it. Onto the extra deck. First I'm going to go over the White Forest cards because they are the most important. So I briefly talked about Silvera. What this card does is absolutely insane. So if this card is special summoned, you can Book of Eclipse all your opponent's monsters, which is really good. Also, that's not once per turn, and that's only on special summon, not just synchro summon. So if you summon it from the grave, which there are ways you can do that, you can do it. So you can end up flipping all your opponent's monsters face down twice in the same turn. Technically, you can also find a way to do it 3 times in one turn, but that's never happened for me. But technically, theoretically, it's possible. And the second effect is also really good. Illusion and Spellcaster synchro monsters you control gain 500 attack, which is decent, but also if they attack a defense position monster, it inflicts double piercing battle damage. So like that means your Silvera, Arciela, and Diabel will be gaining 500 and doing double piercing. So if there's so many times a monster that's booked has 0 like defense, I just attack into it with Diabel, and that's 6,000 damage in one attack. It's absolutely crazy. So for Arciela, this is like your extra deck searcher. So when this is special summoned, excuse me, when this is special summoned, you can send a spell or trap from your hand or field to the grave to add a White Forest card, or, very important, or 1 light spellcaster, which means you can search the Iris Sword Soul because it's a light spellcaster, or you can search Veiler. You can search a effect Veiler with this, which is pretty funny, and I have done that on a number of occasions, and it's just, I don't know, it's just absolutely insane. Basically can search almost anything in your deck, really. Any White Forest card, monster, spell, or trap, and any light spellcaster. So really good. It also has the bonus effects where um, Illusion and Spellcaster Synchro Monsters also gain 500, and so that will stack with Silvera's 500 attack boost. And also, Silvera says they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So um, that's actually come up a number of times where my opponents have actually tried Ghost Ogring this card, which is kind of funny. But yeah. And then the last one is Diabel. This card is absolutely crazy. So it's a level 8 tuner. Excuse me, level 8 synchro, illusion synchro. When it's synchro summoned using a tuner synchro monster, so you'll be summoning it with Arciela, or even Coral Dragon, which lets you get a draw. But when you synchro summon it using a synchro tuner monster, you can target a spell or trap in the graveyard, add it back to your hand. Now, there was one time when I was playing this deck in real life at my locals, and I was playing against a Runic Stun player. I went Harpy's Feather Duster, his back row, and he summoned a Hugin to protect everything. And then I synchroed into this, add back the Harpy's Feather Duster, and activated it again because that card is not once per turn. And I just won the game there. Um, yeah, it's a really good card, and there's some synergy with the specifically with the runic version that I can get to in a little bit. But a lot of the times this will just be adding back like a toy box, because toy box, none of its effects are once um per turn, or excuse me, they're once per turn, but they're once per copy. So if you activate another copy, you can activate the effects again, which is really cool. And then its other effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send a spell or trap from your hand or field to grave to special summon a level 7 or lower synchro monster from your extra deck, graveyard, or banishment, which means you can special summon a Silvera and on summon get its Book of Eclipse. It also means you can summon a Formula Synchron, which is a level 2 tuner that has a quick synchro effect. And with Formula Synchron being a level 2 and Diabel being a level 8, you can go into Baron or Chaos Angel. Baron is not legal in the TCG. This deck would be so much better if we had Baron in the TCG. Um, I'm really sad that we don't, unfortunately, but yeah, that's something that we only get to have in Master Duel. But the fact that we get to do this in Master Duel is still absolutely crazy. So, um, yeah, so that's the brief explanation. A number of the other cards are pretty standard. Triage Master is a level 8 synchro that lets you draw one when it's summoned. It's a non-tuner. Coral Dragon is a tuner level 6 that lets you draw one when it's sent to the graveyard. So those are both really good. Visas Amritara is just here to search the uh, reframing. Then you have Baron and Chaos Angel, just two really busted level 8s, or excuse me, level 10 synchros. I am playing Legatia in this version. I don't know how I feel about this yet, but it's, not that bad going second, breaking boards, drawing cards. It's definitely not bad, and it's very easy to make too. I am playing Baguska for, just those tricky situations if, you end up getting stopped and you want a way to just survive a turn. Hope Harbinger is really good because you can use the Iris Sword Soul and the Visas Emertara after you've used the search to make this, just to have a spell trap negate on top of your end board. It's really, really good. Typhon's really good, IP's really good, and SP Little Knight's really good. So a lot of my end boards usually consist of um, a Diabel, a Baron, and or a Hope Harbinger with the counter trap and Scourge or Woes, sometimes even both. Um, that's a lot of interruption, and that's really hard to get through. And there's a lot of different interactions that your opponent's going to deal with. It's essentially an unbeatable end board if your opponent lets you get to that point. And I'll show you some combos where actually, even if you open suboptimally, you can still make some pretty busted boards. But yeah, that's it for the toy box version. Let's briefly talk about the runic version. So the runic version isn't as good in Master Duel as it is in the TCG. We do have Fountain at 1, Tip is at 2, Slumber's at 2, Freezing Curse is at 2, and Destruction's at 1, which means we are playing 3 Dispelling, 3 Smiting Storm, and even 1 Droplet just to get the runic count up there. But the important thing to, I think, remember about this deck is that more often than not, the runics are just a bonus. Um, it's a draw engine and an extender kind of engine, and the getting the effects off the runics, in my opinion, are just bonuses. They're just here to facilitate drawing cards, banishing cards from your opponent's deck for the runic abilities, and also using them as extenders and just really overwhelming your opponent. Um, so in this version, we do not play a Stellar because, excuse me, it's a little too fragile. Um, it's a little easy to interrupt. So we're playing 3 LZ, 3 Sylvie, and then 2 Rusia. Some people play 3 in this version. I don't like playing 3. And in fact, often going second, I'll side one out when I'm playing this in person. So yeah, so the kind of the key thing, the cool thing with this deck is that when you summon a Hugin, you need to discard a card to search for Fountain. And because the White Forest spells and traps discard for effect, um, or is sent to activate a monster effect, they actually get to reset themselves. So it's free value in the White Forest Runic deck. And so because of that, we're playing 2 Woes and 1 Scourge, just like in the TCG. I like playing 2 and 1. Before Scourge came out in the TCG, I was playing just 3 Woes, and I was very happy with that. I'm playing this now, so if you like draw 1, you can end up searching the other, and you won't have like redundant interruptions in your hands, so you can get even more interaction with your opponent, which is really good. And because this is a board breaker type deck, I am playing 3 evenly into talents. Um, yeah, these cards are just kind of necessary. I don't like playing Ash Blossom in this deck to play around Max C because there's so many times where I just don't have spells and traps to to um to discard, despite the fact that literally what I think this is 29 cards in my deck are spells and traps. Um, if I took some of these out, I would be increasing that number, and it would be a lot more likely that some of the spells and traps that I want to use also need to be used for White Forest effects. So I've gone with playing a call by and a cross out. And yeah, and so this deck I think is a lot more simple building wise. 3 evenly, and then the last one is skill drain. Skill drain is so free in this deck because your tuners can quick effect to bounce the Silvera you summon on your opponent's turn, which means the skill drain effect won't affect it. And then you can add back an LZ, and then on your turn, you can send the skill drain, and then combo, and then you can synchro into Diabel, and then add the skill drain back at the end of your combo, set it again, and just activate it again on your opponent's turn, and just play again. Your opponent has to play under skill drain, you don't. It's really, really good. So for this extra deck, we're playing 3 Hugin. It's the best one to play at 3. I'm not playing Munin because I'm not going into. We don't have to worry about going into time. The targeting protection is nice, but also like I usually will summon that in game 2 or 3 if I'm worried about my opponent siding in Cosmic Cyclone. I'm not really worried about that. Um, yeah, I just don't think it's worth it. It's not needed right now. And then the one Gary to add back the fountain from the grave if it ever gets sent to the grave. We still have a lot of the same synchros: C Formula Synchron, Coral, Tri-Edge, the Silvera, Arciela, and Diabel, and the Baron. And the fact that we can have Baron in the Runic version now is absolutely insane. But we do also play Chenging. Chenging is really good in this deck because the Runic cards banish cards off the top of your opponent's deck for their effects. So you'll be triggering this constantly, and if you can establish Chenging with like Runics in hand, you're going to be in a really good position, and you just constantly banishing all your opponent's stuff from their field, from their grave. It's really, really strong. Again, Baguska and Typhon, just good defensive options. And SP, this card's really good to go into in this deck too. And again, it triggers Changing, so really, really good. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with these decks, and let's go into some replays. Where are they? So I kind of want to go over a couple things. Let's go over, okay, let's go over the toy box versions first. So these this deck is actually like a lot more versatile than you'd think, because you can play, I guess, what you could call small ball or mid-range Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's just something that a lot of decks can't do. They're either all in or just nothing. So we open up here with a really odd hand. But this is the really cool thing, is if you open 2 of the toy box cards, you can actually set this and then use the toy box to pop it, and then Toy Soldier summon. This will search for our Sylvie summon, search the tails. Then we can use the tails to search LZ, and then LZ will send, I think I sent a toy box here, and then we can search Rusia. And so then we can go into Arciela, which is a level 6 tuner. We can discard the Scourge, and that's just going to be able to reset itself. And then we can go into Baron, which is just absolutely just, it's so insane. This deck just like doesn't care about nib. It's so nice. But now we have Silvera summoned. We summon back Rusia, and because we have a negated monster, we can summon the Iris Sword Soul. Really cool card. Great extender. We switch to Visas Amritara, and then that gets us this. And then we'll overlay into a Hope Harbinger. So we don't really go into our Diabel here. We don't even really need it. But right here, we have a Spell Trap negate, a Monster negate, or excuse me, a Omni negate and Baron, a Counter Trap Omni negate, and an on-field Omni negate with an Ashen Veiler in hand. So this is going to be over pretty quickly. Okay, yeah. So this isn't going to be very long. So my opponent goes Red Eyes Fusion. I'm going to Ash it. I believe he goes Cross Out. Yeah, we're just going to negate that. And the cool thing here is if he even had Droplet, so I'm going to negate with Harbinger. If he had Droplet, there's literally nothing he can do, because I can just negate with literally anything. If he sends, he can only send 2 cards. If he sends a monster and a spell, I can negate with Reframing. If he sends a spell and a trap, I can negate with Baron. And if he spends a monster and a trap, I can negate with Scourge. So we're just winning here. There's just so many negates here, and we didn't even get to play with our proper board. And so we're gonna negate this. This is more just to show the kind of combos you can do, even with a subpar hand. We didn't even open any White Forest cards. And now we're gonna go into the next game. I want to say this is against Tenpai, but I will be reminded really soon here. Oh no, this wasn't against Tenpai, but this was certainly a good game. So again, we don't open White Forest cards, but we open the Toy Box engine, and this is why the Toy Box engine is just so busted. We're gonna go Sylvie, search. I'm gonna speed this one up. We're gonna get Woes this time. I think I probably should have gotten Scourge. We're gonna do a lot of similar things here. If not virtually the exact same thing, but my opponent's gonna have a lot more interaction for us, so I'll show you how much just stuff we can stop. Again, this is very similar. This isn't even the standard combo, but the fact of the matter is when I do the standard combo, it's so busted that people often just scoop. So I didn't get really any good replays of that. Um, excuse me. So our opponents got the horse engine. He's gonna go Mseti to search. We have the Ash. We also have the Baron to stop it. He can summon this out. He's also playing White Force cards for some reason, which is kind of funny. We can negate that with Baron. You know, he has another great extender. This is just basically gets him anything he wants. And we're gonna negate that, and then he goes into Zombie Vampire, and he realizes he just is gonna lose, so he quits. I don't have really any better replays. Like I had a couple from the other day, but I can't view those anymore. And honestly, it's just really hard to get good replays from games because people just end up scooping the second they see you just popping off like crazy. So, yeah, so this is going to be our runic game, and this is actually going to show you how, like, especially with the runic version of the deck, how you can play through um, cards like Max C. So he is on Labyrinth, so he's going to send 2 cards. He's going to set a big welcome, or excuse me, a welcome Labyrinth and set 3. So we have evenly matched, which is nice. We are going to max C. I think we're not going to get a whole lot of value out of it. We're just going to get the 1 draw, I think. So it's more or less like nothing else happened. But he's going to summon out. We're going to get a draw. We're then going to go battle phase. He's going to actually go debarrier called Synchro, which he doesn't even know what we're on yet. But yeah, we're going to go evenly, which is the great thing about playing board breakers. Sylvie search the Scourge, then we're going to go Smiting Storm. He's going to go Max C. We can chain a Slumber here to summon. Because these need to summon to the extra monster zone, it's the first one's going to resolve without effect. And we're going to be able to get the summon before the Max C resolves so he doesn't get a draw. And we're going to discard the Scourge to search for the Fountain. And this shows the cool synergy because we just get to reset these cards. So even though we're only ending on a Sylvie, a Hugin, and then our 2 set, this actually represents 3 pretty strong interruptions. Or excuse me, I should say 2. This one summons the Silvera. So, you know, our opponent's gonna go, I think, yeah, Entis. And the cool thing about Hugin is we can protect the set card. And one last thing before he activates his set punishment. The cool thing about Hugin and Sylvie is that having either one of these on field lets you have access to your Silvera, because if you have a Sylvie, you can go Woes to summon an LZ from your hand or deck. Usually you want to do your deck. And then summon the Silvera that way. If you have a Hugin out, you can just summon like a Sylvie or a Rusia. You can summon the Tuner and make the level 6 synchro that way. So it's really good synergy, really good just versatility in the way that you can use the cards for many different things. So he's gonna go punishment, target this card. We're gonna dodge that so he doesn't get the send. And I think he's gonna see the writing on the wall real quick. Yeah, and so, you know, that's gonna be game. So those are really honestly the best replays I could get recently to to show off the deck. They're not as good replays as I want because a lot of the times the the best games like often just end in just rage quits or, you know, stuff like that, because, you know, Master Duel's it, you know, a lot of people just go, okay, you know, I'm just gonna surrender and go next. Even if you just go end up going seconds, like, you know what, I'm gonna go next. My Max C got ashed, just surrender, you know. That is a lot of what White Forest is, but this deck is just really good. It's one of my pet decks, honestly. I have all these cards, every single White Forest card in QCR. I have my playset of Estellars in QCR and LZs in QCR. I have all my Tails in QCR. I have the Diabell, the Arciela, and the Silvera in QCR. And you best believe when the Azumina LZ of the White Forest comes out, I'll be getting the QCR of that too. So yeah, I just want to show off the basics of this deck. There's so many different little things that I could talk about. Um, I could talk about like board breaker approaches. I might do a follow-up video for this if I find enough things I want to discuss. Um, if I find other ways to play it. If I end up giving the White Forest Centurion version a go, that's probably gonna be something I have on my to-do list. But yeah, for now, this deck has been doing me really well. I've been really busy lately, so I haven't been able to play this as much. I haven't played Master Duel as much lately, and honestly, like the White Forest cards coming back in has got me playing the game more. So I'm going to be ranking up again, getting to Masters again, and having a lot of fun with this. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about the deck or any um, I guess comments or anything, any questions you want answering, just let me know, and I'll be happy to answer all of them, or at least as many as I can. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.